Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bintang Mawar. I'm from class PBI Morning Regular Banjarmasin, second semester. I want to make a summary about phonics and phonology from Unit 1 and until Unit 7. Well, for explaining the time, let me begin now. The parents. The parent is a tube which begins just about the larynx. It is about 7 cm long in a woman and about 8 cm long in a man. And at its top, and it is divided into two or one part being the back of one oral cavity and the other being the beginning of the way through the nasal cavity. If you look in your mirror with your mouth open, you can see the back of the larynx or the pharynx. Sorry. Number second, the soft plate or volume is seen is the diaphragm in a position that allows air to pass through the nose and through the mouth. Yours is probably in that position now, but often in speech it is raised so that air cannot expel through articulator that can be touched by the tongue. When we make sound k, k, the tongue is contact with the lower side of the soft plate, and we call this velar consonant. Next, the hard plate. It is often called roof of the mouth. You can feel its smooth, curved surface in your tongue. Consonant made with a tongue close to the hard plate is called palatal. The sound ch, yes, in palatal. Next, the alveolar ridge. It's between the top from the teeth and the hard plate. You can feel its shape with your tongue. Its surface is really much round than its fill and it's covered with little ridge. You can only see this if you have a small mirror enough to go inside your mouth. Such a nose used by dentists, sound made with the tongue touched her, such a t, t, like that, are called alveolar. Next, tongue. Tongue is a very important articulator and it can be moved into many different places and different shapes. It is usual to into tongue, two into dividing lines within its structure. Next, teeth. Teeth is eye only at the front of the mouth, immediately behind the lips. This is for the sake of a simple diagram, and you should remember and that most speakers have teeth to the side of their mouth. And the last is the lips. Lips are important in speech. They can be pressed together when we produce the sound like that, brought into contact with the teeth as a f, or rounded to produce the lip shape for vowels like sound in which the lips are contact with each other are called bilabial, while those with little teeth contact are called labiodental. Next, long vowels. Long vowels are different from the 6 short vowels described in chapter 2, not only the length but also in quality. If we compare some similar pairs of long and short vowels, for example E with E, or U with U, or A with O, we can see the distinct difference in quality, resulting from difference in sound shape and position and lip position, as well in a length or a reason. All the long vowels have a symbol which are different from those of short vowels. For example, this vowel in neural to cardinal vowels. Number one. For example, like beat, pint, feet. And next, diphthong. Dipthongs are similar to the long vowels described above. Perhaps the most important thing to remember about all the diphthongs is that the first part is much longer and stronger than, than the second part. For example, most of the diphthongs, as the words I, consist of the vowels and only at about the last quarter of the diphthongs, thus the glide to I become noticeable as the glide to I happens. For example, birds, bird, word, first, and the last is third tongue. Third tongue can be located on us, being composite of one of the five closing diphthongs described in the last action, with the added on the end. For example, lower, power, player, royal, English plosive. English plosive has six plosive consonants: p, t, k, b, d, and ch. The glottal plosive occurs frequently, but it is of less importance. Since it is usually just an alternative pronunciation of p, t, k in certain contexts. The plosive have the plosivus have different places of articulator. The plosivus p and p are bilabial, since the lips are pressed together, and T are alveolar, since the tongue blade is pressed against alveolar. Normally the tongue does not touch the front teeth as it does in the later plosivus found in many languages. The plosive k are alveolar. The back of the tongue is pressed against the area where the hard blade ends and the soft blade begins. The plosivus p-t-k are always voiceless. B-p-t-k are sometimes fully voiced, sometimes partly voiced, and sometimes voiceless. We will consider what p-t-k should be called in section. The principle involved here may be easier to understand if we look at the similar situation related to the letters of the alphabet that we use in writing English. The letter of the alphabet in writing is a unit which corresponds fairly well the unit of speech we have been talking about early in this chapter, the segment. In the alphabet, we have five letters that are called vowels: a, e, o, u. If we choose the right context, we can show how substitution one letter for another will change meaning. Thus with a letter P before and a letter T after the vowels letter, we get the five words pleat, pat, pit, pot, put, each of which has a different meaning. We can do the same with the sound if we look at the short symbol and transcription. You have now seen a number of symbols of several different sorts. Basically, the symbols are for one or two purposes. Either they are symbols for phonemes, or they are phonetic symbols. We will look first at the phonemic symbol. The most important point to remember is the ratio of receiving fact that the number of phonemic symbols must be actually the same as the number of phonemes we desired exist in the language. It is rather like of our phonemic symbol consists of two characters. For example, we usually treat ch and ch, as in chip, ch phoneme. So ch is a phoneme symbol consisting of two characters. Production of fricatives and abricatives. Fricatives are consonants with the characteristic that air expels through narrow passage and makes a hissing sound. Most languages have fricatives, the most commonly found being something like s. Fricatives are consonants, which means that you can continue making them without interruption as long as you have enough air in your lungs. Plosives, which were described in chapter 4, are not continuous. You can demonstrate the importance of the narrow passage in error the following ways. Make a long sound. While you are producing the sound, use your fingers and pull the lower lip away from the upper teeth. Notice how the hissing sound of the air escaping between teeth and lips suddenly stop. Affricatives are rather complex consonants. They beginning as plosives and as prefricative. A familiar example is the affricative heard at the beginning and of the word crunch. Church relates with the pleasure and aspiration as we would find in the word tip. The tongue moves moves on the position for the fricatives sh that we find at the beginning of the word ship. So the plosives is followed immediately by fricative noise signs. Phonetically, this affricative is composed of t and sh. We represent it as ch, so that the word church is transcribed as ch and sh. Fourth consonant are usually articulated with open glottis, that is, with the vocal folds separated. This is always the case with fricatives, where airflow is essential for successful production. However, with plosive, an alternative possibility is to produce the consonant is found widely in contemporary English pronunciation, though only in specific contexts. The glottal closure occurs immediately before p, t, k, and ch. The most widespread glottalization is that of ch and the end of the stressed syllable. I leave the I leave debating what stressed syllable means until chapter 8. If you use the symbol to represent a glottal closure, the phonetic can be given as follows: nasal. The basic characteristic of a nasal consonant is that the air escapes through the nose. For this to happen, the soft palate must be lowered in the case of all the other consonants and vowels. The soft palate is raised and air cannot pass through the nose. In nasal consonant, however, the air does not pass through the mouth. It is prevented by a complete closure in the mouth at some point. If you produce a long sequence without moving your tongue from the position from alveolar closure, You will feel your soft lid moving up and down. Nasal and other consonants. As a result of this, the rule must be modified. It must state that comparative and superlative forms of adjective are to be treated as single morpheme words for the purpose of this rule. The resulting rule is, of course, difficult to understand. It is important to remember that English speakers in general, apart from those phonetics, are quite ignorant of this rule, and yet if this foreigner use the wrong pronunciation, is pronunciation wrong. J and W. These are the consonants found at the beginning of the word, such as yet and wet. They have been called semi-vowels by many writers, but we will use the more modern term approximant. The most important things to remember about these phonemes is that they are phonetically like vowels but phonological like consonants. From the phonetic point of view, the articulator of j is particularly the same as that of the front closed vowels such as e, but is very short. E. In the same way, W is closely similar to U if you make the initial sound of the word or yet very long. You will be able to hear this, but despite these vowel-like character, we use them like consonant. For example, the only occur before vowel phonemes. This is a typically consonantal distribution. We can show that a word beginning with W or A or J is regarded as beginning with a consonant in the following way. The J and W sound are the voices that is become voicelet and are slightly repetitive in this context. For place of articulation, we regard J as palatal and W is bilabial. Well, thank you very much for your kind attention and thank you for watching my video. I'm Bintang Mawar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.